Welcome, welcome. Thank you for joining me. Hey, today I'm going to share with you the top 3 ways to hire freight agents if you're looking to grow your business as a freight broker. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Thank you so much for joining me. This is my weekly Freight Broker Bootcamp Live. I do these every Monday at noon, so you can set an alarm on your phone or in your calendar or wherever. If you're on my email list, you'll get an email. If you're part of Facebook and you're subscribed, you'll get a notification. But anyway, I do these trainings every single week, and I appreciate you being here. My name is Dennis Brown. For those of you that don't know me, been an entrepreneur for, going almost on 30 years now, which is going to date myself. But ultimately, started a freight brokerage in 2003, grew that to about $80 million a year in sales, and was very blessed. I was able to sell that company. Along the way, I started a program called Freight Broker Bootcamp, which is the most cost-effective and comprehensive online freight broker training program. Started that in 2009. Since then, trained well over 10,000 students. It's probably approaching 20. I should probably do a count. And we offer a 60-day, 100% unconditional money-back guarantee. If you guys are curious about that, you can check it out at Freight Broker Bootcamp. But today, on this live, here's the agenda. 1, we're going to go over the training. The top 3 ways to hire freight agents as a freight broker if you're looking to grow sales. Then we're going to possibly do a giveaway, maybe a Freightpreneur t-shirt or some cash. Depends on the time, depends on my mood at that point. And then number 3 is we're going to do live Q&A at the end. So if you have questions about this training or becoming a freight agent or becoming a freight broker or freight broker sales or freight broker marketing or LinkedIn or anything to do with starting and growing a successful freight brokerage, you can ask me those questions at the end. You got to hold off till the end, because if you type them in now, they're going to get lost in the feed and I'm never going to answer them. So hold tight on the questions. We're going to let a few people get live. Hit me up in the comments with the city and state you're logging in from, and I'll give some shout outs, and then we'll get the ball rolling. Welcome, Cynthia, as always, from Maryland. Cynthia's here every week pretty much. Thank you for joining. Who else we got? Where are you guys at? I'm in the Buffalo, New York area. For those of you that don't know, I don't live in Buffalo. I live in kind of the suburbs, lifelong resident here in Western New York. Never escaped, but this is the winter to be in Buffalo because we've had a very mild winter. Matter of fact, we had a green Christmas. There's no snow on the ground right now. So Buffalonians are pretty excited, other than the fact that we didn't make it to the Super Bowl. So in any event, Michael Fitzgerald from Williamson, Georgia. TK from Columbia, welcome. Ree from Detroit. Alex from Columbus, Ohio. Corey from Billings, Montana. So we got people from all over the place. Columbia, another country. Montana. We've got Courtney from Pennsylvania. We usually have people from, I've had, just so you know, in those 10,000 students that have went through my Freight Broker Bootcamp program, I think it represents about 16 different countries that have enrolled in that program over the years. So yeah, we have people from all over the place. The majority of them are obviously in the United States and Canada. Those are the 2 biggest for sure. But quick shout out to whoever's joining me live, and then we'll get the ball rolling. I have my favorite buy drink that you guys see me drink all the time. David from Armenia. There's a perfect example. David is just enrolled in my Freight Broker Sales Accelerator program, which is that Freight Broker Sales Coaching program. I mean, it's closed now. It's sold out, so you can't enroll now. But if you guys want to get on the wait list, you guys can get on the wait list for the Freight Broker Sales Accelerator Coaching Program, freightbrokerbootcamp.com/waitlist. Matter of fact, we have our second live coaching call this week with David and the group. So I'm excited about that. And I hope you guys are too, that are part of the program. Zoran from Macedonia. Here we go. Another country in the house. So we got 4 different countries: US, Armenia, Macedonia, and Colombia. That's pretty cool. I like that. And then, of course, we've got our residents from Los Angeles, Eric Serrano. Welcome. All right, guys, 1 minute, and I'm going to start the live training. Today, we're going to talk about the top 3 ways to hire freight agents if you're looking to grow your sales as a freight broker. Okay, that's what we're going to cover today. And you can see here, I got a bunch of notes. So you guys want to pay close attention here. We're going to cover a lot of ground. And And the cool thing about this is you can always watch this on replay. If you're catching this on replay, I don't want to ignore my replay folks. Hit me up in the comments with hashtag replay. I love when you guys join me afterwards. Truly appreciate it. Whether you're watching this on LinkedIn or Facebook or YouTube or wherever you're watching it, truly appreciate you guys being here. Okay. Ray Carson from California. Marvin from Guatemala, another country. That's 5 countries on this little dinky live, right? So I love it. All right, guys, listen, I'm really happy that you're here. Let me just review these really quick, grab a quick drink, and we will get the show on the road. All right. So today, I want to share with you the top 3 ways to hire freight agents if you're looking to grow your sales as a freight broker. All right. 3 key ways. You have to understand. Matter of fact, I'm going to give you a bonus. If you stick around to the end, there's going to be 4 ways, right? Not 5, 4. But listen, before we do that, before I dive into those 3, let me set the table a little bit. I've got to give a little bit of a backdrop here. First of all, because I don't know where everybody is in this training level. So first of all, what is a freight agent? Okay. A freight agent is an independent contractor. Typically, they're on a 1099 that works under the license of an authorized freight broker. So they're working with a freight broker who has their license and authority to move freight in the United States. They work as an independent contractor and they are paid a high commission, typically ranging between 50 and 70% of the profit on any given load. So if you make $200 profit on the load and you're at 50% commission, the agent gets $100. That's a perfect example, okay? Now, the cool thing about becoming a freight agent is it doesn't require you to have a broker bond. It doesn't require you to have a freight broker authority of your own, and it doesn't require you to have freight broker insurance. That's the cool part about being a freight agent, all right? Now, why did I decide to hire freight agents to help scale my business? Well, one of the things that I did in my first few years as a broker, we grew to about $6 million in sales with an in-house brokerage. But I knew all along the way that I wanted to pivot into an agent business model. So at the point that we had built up the business and we had a real product and a real offering and real clients and real cash flow, we had a real business moving, I decided to start hiring agents. And the 2 biggest reasons why I decided to hire agents, and then listen, I'm going to get to the 3 ways you can hire agents, but stick around here. I gotta give you this backdrop really quick. The 2 biggest reasons why I started hiring freight agents was 1, access to the best talent, because I wasn't limited to just talent in the Buffalo area, okay, which was great, but I had a much bigger talent pool when I could recruit anywhere in the country, okay, so that's number 1. And number 2, it allowed me to scale faster. It allowed me to scale much faster because when I'm able to recruit experienced brokers, experienced salespeople, experienced operations people, people who have customer relationships, people who have carrier relationships, it allowed me to scale much faster. So those are the 2 biggest reasons: access to talent and scaling faster. All right. So the next question I'm going to answer before I give you those 3 top ways to hire freight agents is this: should you hire freight agents? Should I hire freight agents as a freight broker? Okay. And I can't answer that for you personally, but there's 2 questions I want you to ask, right? Number 1, what can you offer an experienced agent with a real book of business? So should you hire experienced agents or should you hire inexperienced agents? That's the question. And the answer to that, it depends. The first question you want to ask is, what can I offer an experienced freight agent? Someone who has a book of business. What can I as a company offer them? If you're day 1 of a freight brokerage, it's probably going to be hard to offer anything that's significant or attractive to that agent other than maybe a high commission. All right. So the second question is, what can I offer an agent without a book of business? Wherever you are best suited, that's the target market that you need to go after at this time. So I recommend that if you're a newer brokerage, you may have a hard time recruiting experienced agents with a book of business. It's not impossible, but you have to ask yourself, what do I have to offer? What type of product do I have to offer them of value that would attract them to me, that would make them want to work with me and partner with me, okay? So that's an important question you got to answer. Now, here's the good news. I'm going to stop yapping, but I'm going to get to the top 3 ways to hire freight agents if you're looking to grow and scale your business as a broker. All right, number one on the list, my favorite place to go online, LinkedIn. LinkedIn is the world's largest social network for professionals. It's kind of like Facebook, but it's much cooler because we don't get all the political and religious and other crap out there. It's all oriented towards business. Okay. It's the largest professional networking site in the world. It is a great place to find, connect, and engage with potential freight agents. It's also a great place to find, connect, and engage with potential shippers. So LinkedIn is definitely on the list. These are not in any discernible order, but it just happens to be number one. I love LinkedIn because it allows you to search, not only profiles, but it allows you to look at content that's specific to agents. It allows you to post content. It allows you to build your authority and your expertise to attract people to you with content. There's a lot of great things that you can do with LinkedIn. I'm not going to get into a full training right now, but just know that LinkedIn is one of the best places that you can go to hire agents. It was one of the primary sources of that we used as a way to recruit quality agents. Matter of fact, we generated well over $20 million in annual recurring revenue just using LinkedIn as a marketing and sales tool to get shippers and agents. So yes, LinkedIn is one of the top places. Number two, job boards. Okay. The obvious job boards. Well, the good news is I put together a job board. You'll see the link on the screen at some point here. It's freightbrokerbootcamp.com/jobs. Let me pull it up. Should be on here. I don't know why it's not, but it should be. Give me 1 minute. Oh, here it is. freightbrokerbootcamp.com/jobs. If you go there, that is a free job board where you can not only post your job if you're a broker looking for agents, but you can also get a job and get hired if you're looking to become an agent, right? Some of the jobs on there require experience in a book of business. Some of the jobs on there don't require any experience. If you went through my Freight Broker Bootcamp training, a lot of times those people that are placing the job ads will give you preferential treatment because you went through my training. So again, job boards, but Freight Broker Bootcamp/jobs is not the only job board. You've got places like Jobs and Logistics, which is another great job board. We used to advertise on there. Indeed.com, another great job board where you can advertise and attract and get agents inbound, right? Inbound applications and resumes from people that want to be agents. So those are three great places, okay? Freight Broker Bootcamp job board, Indeed, and Jobs and Logistics. But again, ultimately it comes down to number two on the list is job boards, all right? And remember, this is number three, but I'm going to give you a bonus. Number four, I'm going to give you a fourth bonus, but I need you to stick around to the end, okay? Number three is load boards. Yes, Truck Stop, DAT, Trucker Path, Direct Freight, 123 load boards, all of the major load boards. Those are all great sources for leads for people that could potentially become an agent, okay? Especially, and they may have a book of business. Here's why. When you go on the board, the load board, and if you have the ability to search loads, say, for example, you're a carrier and you have the ability to search loads or see loads, you will be able to see what brokers are posting those loads. And the brokers that are posting those loads that have an agent program, or if they're a larger brokerage and they have brokers working inside, that can become a great lead source for you to start prospecting, finding and engaging and developing relationships with those people that are using the load boards. If they're an existing broker or an existing agent using the load boards, well, then they should definitely be someone that's on your list that you want to have a conversation with about your agent program. Okay. And the bonus, all right, the bonus tip here, bonus tip number 4, a paid referral program. Having a paid referral program to anybody that refers you an agent that you then hire and hit some sort of benchmark in regards to trigger that bonus. There's 2 ways to trigger the bonus, right? In my opinion, if I were a broker right now hiring agents, this is something that I might do. And again, this is completely up to you. You can design your own program, but you can do a one-time payment where you give them a one-time payment of $500, $1,000, $1,500 if that agent stays with you for a period of time, 3, 6, 12 months. Okay. The shorter, the better, because of course they want to get their money sooner. And if they get their money sooner, then they're more likely to refer you agents. So you could do a one-time fee. I think 500, 1,000, 1,500 is very fair for a one-time fee. A lot of the risk is on you, but ultimately, if it's $1,000 fee, you really, the break-even point is probably all they had to do is generate 2,000 or 3,000 in profit, and you will have covered that cost. And if they can't generate 2,000 or 3,000 in profit, you probably didn't make a very good hire. All right. So that's number one. Number two is a recurring fee, a recurring referral fee. So for example, if I were to hire an agent, you referred the agent to me, I hired the agent as an independent agent. And then what I might pay is I might pay something like 5% of the profit. So for example, if that agent did 10,000 in his 6 month, if they did $10,000 in gross profit, that 5% would mean I would pay the person that referred it to me, I'd pay you $500, right? And I'd pay you 5% for maybe the first year that agent was on board. And then after that, I might pay you 1 or 2% of the profit after that. And the reason why that's very powerful is because, number one, that's a lot of money. If the agent is successful and they're doing 10,000 a month or more in profit, that could mean a lot of money for that person that referred it. And the cool thing for you is that it costs you nothing to source that person. You didn't have to place a job ad. You didn't have to spend 100 hours trying to find them and prospect because they were referred to you, right? Referrals are an incredible way to do this, especially if you have an existing agent, right, that you've brought on board and they know other brokers and other agents. You can entice them, you can motivate them to give you referrals by offering a referral fee. Because the fact is, if you just ask for referrals and you're not willing to compensate them, the likelihood of them giving you that referral is not very good. And the quality of that referral may not be very good. So those are the four really quick. Number one, LinkedIn. Number two, job boards. Number three, load boards. And number four, the bonus is have a paid referral program. So listen, I want to thank you for being here. Listen, if you're curious about becoming a freight agent or a freight broker, check out freightbrokerbootcamp.com. Trained over 10,000 students, had the program for over a decade, and we offer a 60-day, 100% unconditional money-back guarantee. You can check that out at freightbrokerbootcamp.com. Hey, listen, thanks, guys. Hang around because I'm going to be doing live Q&A here. If you liked that training, if you thought that was valuable, hit the like button right now. Do me a huge favor and hit the like button, okay? That's your price of admission. Notice there was no credit card for you to get into this training. I didn't ask for your email to get into this training. I didn't ask for your firstborn to get into this training. And I do these trainings every single week for free, okay? As long as you guys are engaged, as long as I see the likes, comments, and shares, I'm all in. I'll be here every week because that's the only way I can really measure if you guys are getting value, okay? And hold your questions, okay? I am not to the Q&A part, so hold your questions, all right? So those are my notes. I think I covered everything. I did. Give me some feedback, guys. How many of you, first of all, how many of you are either looking to hire agents or you're looking to get hired as an agent? Hit me up in the comments and let me know that. I'd like to hear from you. I'd like to kind of hear what the audience consists of. How many people are looking to hire agents to grow their brokerage and how many are looking to get hired as agents? Talk to me. Hit me up in the comments. Let me see what we got. Michael's looking to hire 4 or 5 agents. Kairos is looking to hire agents. Okay, good. So we got a couple of people that are looking to hire agents, which is great. You could definitely leverage these 4 tips. Okay. Dan Mita is looking to hire agents. I'm going to star as agents, so I'm looking. Okay. Travis, I'm a new brokerage and switched from carriage to brokerage. Okay, good. All right, so we've got some people that are definitely looking to hire agents, and we got some people that are definitely looking to become agents, okay, and get hired as an agent. A lot of the students that come out of my Freight Broker Bootcamp program will start as an agent if they don't have a lot of experience, or maybe they don't have the startup capital, because it's a very inexpensive, fast, easy way to get your feet on the ground, learn the business, develop a customer base. And then at that point, you can always choose later to become an agent or not, right? If you are become a broker or not, if you want to get your authority and your bond and all the other, things that you need to do in order to become a licensed freight broker. So, okay, good. David wants sub agents. Okay. All right, good. So value 1 to 10. Give me an idea. And then after this, 1 meaning, Dennis, this was a waste of my time. 10 meaning, Dennis, this was perfect. I definitely got at least 1 or 2 nuggets out of it that I'm going to apply to hiring agents, or maybe even getting hired as an agent. Hit me up in the comments. Let me know that. And then after that, once I get some feedback from you, I'm going to dive into Q&A, but hold your questions until I tell you to hit me up with questions. Okay. Good. Yeah. And again, the only reason why I'm asking you for this feedback is because I want to make sure, number one, I'm talking about the right topics, and number two, that I'm delivering them in such a way that it provides value to you. I don't need to do these trainings. I've been very fortunate and blessed, and that ship has sailed for me. I built the brokerage, I sold the brokerage, but I want to make sure that I'm giving you the things that you need in order to be effective and to start and grow a highly successful freight brokerage. So anything below an 8, let me know why. What could I do better? What could I do different? How could I enhance the training for you to make it more valuable? That's really what I'm looking for. Okay. I don't need you to placate my ego, and trust me, if it sucked and you got no value, or I should be doing something different, tell me. I've got thick skin. I'm not a guy who's going to take it personally. Okay. But it sounds like the feedback is very good. So I think this topic was right on the nose, which is awesome. For part 2 is the interview process, then onboarding. Okay. Yeah. Again, right now I was only focusing in on the top 3 ways to hire, but yeah, there's an entire process. Once you identify a prospective agent, now you've got to go through the process of interviewing and vetting them. And then once you hire them, you got to onboard them. And once you onboard them, you got to kind of train them. And then you have to, there's components to it behind the scenes for sure. That's a really good point, CDN Freight Broker. So yeah, I wasn't planning on really covering that in this training. Maybe we'll talk about that in a future training, but okay, cool. Listen, let's jump in. We're not going to do a giveaway today, but we are going to spend a little extra time on Q&A. So hit me up in the comments with any questions you have about today's training, about hiring agents or getting hired as an agent, or any questions you have about starting, growing a successful freight brokerage or freight agency, whether that's sales related, operations, tech related, whatever. Okay. Just hit me up in the comments. Let me know what questions you have, and I will do my absolute best to try to answer those questions today. Okay, good. So we got some good feedback. Awesome. Thank you, Case Transportation. Dennis, you're always on track. Thank you for the kind words. I don't feel that way sometimes, but I do appreciate the kind words. I spend a lot of time deliberating over the topics that I share with you. I have an entire huge list of topics that have come to mind, but some of them, when I'm just brainstorming, they're just not the right topics. They're not the most valuable topics for you. And this is something that I've never covered before, right? I've never had this type of training that I've done with the free group. I've done more in-depth trainings when I've had private, coaching clients, or when we've had group coaching programs, but I've never done it out here. Good. All right. Feedback. Here's a question. CDM Freight Brokers. Oh, okay. This was not a question for me. All right. So who has questions for me? If you guys don't have any questions, that's awesome. I got no problems. If you guys don't have any questions for me, we can close this out. You guys can get to work. I can get to work. I've got a laundry list of things that I need to do, but I'm here for the next few minutes answering questions. Okay. Question from Kairos. Hey, Dennis, what are some key points of email follow-up for potential clients? Okay. So I guess this depends upon where they are in the sales funnel, in the sales process. If you've never had a conversation with them and you are cold emailing them and you're trying to start a dialogue, that's a little different than following up with someone that you've already had a phone call with. as you can imagine, you've already got some rapport, you've already had a conversation, they already know you're going to be following up with them. So I don't know exactly what you're going for, but let me assume it says, hey, Dennis, what are some key points of email follow-up for potential clients? When you say email follow-up, Kairos, expand on it. Let me know, is this cold emailing where you're trying to connect with them, or is this more follow-up after you've already started a dialogue with them? Clarify that for me and I will answer your question, okay? Clarify that for me and I will definitely answer your question. Because I want to make sure I give you the right answer here because they're very different. Eric Serrano, is it better to hire someone remotely or on-site, aka work from home? Eric, better is subjective, okay? When I first started my freight brokerage, everybody I hired was inside. They were all in my corporate location. But that was 2003. It was a different era back then. If I did it today, I would not limit people that I hired to work inside my operations, whether they were a W-2 employee or they were an agent. When we expanded into the agent model, we had to go remote because most of the talent that we were recruiting was not in my local market. They were all over the country. And so relocating them to Buffalo was not top on their priority list, nor did I want to try to have to sell that. And that was one of the reasons why I like the agent model, because it opened up my access to talent. So when I sold the company, we had about 70 locations and they were all agency based. They were all remote. So I don't have a problem with remote. Some people do. There are some roles that I think fit better as an internal to an organization, and there are other roles that are much more open to being a remote. So I hope that helps. Okay, let me scroll down. Okay, Kairos says this is follow-up after the cold email. All right, so again, you send a cold email out, which is you send a message to somebody to try to start a dialogue, and I'm assuming they didn't reply, okay? If they didn't reply to you, then you need to continue to cold email them over time. Now, you're not going to necessarily do it every day. As a part of my Freight Broker Sales Accelerator, I teach a multi-touch point outreach strategy and what I call a sales cadence. So, for example, a sales cadence is day one, you call and leave a voicemail and you send an email. Day two, you connect with them on LinkedIn and you call and you don't leave a voicemail. Day three, you send them an email and a LinkedIn message and you call them, but you don't leave a message. So there's a cadence, right? There's an order. And the reason why I create this multi-touch point outreach strategy and I create a sales cadence is because this is a contact sport. We need to start a dialogue. And if you limit yourself just to the phone or just to email or just to LinkedIn, you're going to cut out a whole segment of people that you're not going to be able to ever get in touch with because they may not use that medium very much, right? So I would say, phone is number one, email and LinkedIn are kind of number two. If you can go face-to-face, if your market is local, going face-to-face is incredibly powerful if you're comfortable with it. And so those are some of the channels. So, as far as following up with a cold email that you sent, I would continue to send additional cold emails, but you're not going to send them every day. It might be something where you send it out once or twice a week, but you're going to have to use different sales hooks. You're going to have to use different entry points. You're going to have to use different subject headings, because the reality is if they didn't reply to your email, then there's a very good chance they didn't either get your email or they didn't open your email, right? If you have there are some softwares that will allow you to track whether those emails are being opened, right? But if you didn't get a reply, then maybe you need to change the messaging or the subject. But I wouldn't quit just because you sent out one cold email. Good question. All right. I'm just looking for questions. Hold tight. Okay. Alex Gordon, this is a question I get quite often. Is it possible to drive trucks full-time and be a broker with a successful client base? Okay, so the answer is it's possible. but it's harder. Okay. So if you are a full-time driver and you want to start your brokerage, it is possible to start that business. I've had students from my program that started that way and eventually pivoted their way out of the truck and built a successful freight brokerage. Now, it's a lot harder because obviously, broker business is pretty busy. Number one, you got to be doing outbound prospecting calls. Number two, you got to be taking inbound and making outbound calls to cover loads. Number three, you got to do freight quotes. So that's going to add a lot of things to your daily routine. But if you have the time and you have the skills and you have the energy and the enthusiasm to do it, it's doable on a part-time basis. But I would tell you that this is not something you can do. You can start this business on a part-time basis, but you can't start this business in your spare time. What I mean by that is if you think you're going to spend 1 or 2 hours a week building a brokerage, it's not going to work. I would tell you to save your time, save your money, save your resources. But if you can tell me that you're going to spend 1, 2, 3, 4 hours a day, every day, 5 or 6 days a week, building your brokerage while you're doing something else, that's doable. It's going to be a slower road. But the cool part is once you get your first 1 or 2 or 3 clients, at that point, you might make the decision to transition out of the truck and become a full-time broker, right? Or you may not, right? Maybe you're just doing this for an extra $2,000 or $3,000 or $4,000 a month in income. That's fine too. But the fact is, like I said, you can't start it in your spare time, but you can start it in your part-time, but it has to be a dedicated effort. So I hope that helps. Question. Sir, can I become a broker using the MCDOT of the carrier and the shipper while I arrange the logistics? Can I become a broker using the MCDOT of the carrier and the shipper? I don't understand the question. You got to clarify the question. If you can't be a broker unless you have a broker authority. You can be an agent working under a broker if you want, or you could be a dispatcher working under a carrier, but those are different things. So clarify your question and I'll try to answer. Eric, I think I answered this. Let me rephrase the question. Should I hire someone to work from home or work at my office? That depends on you. I mean, if they're local, then you may want to try to hire them in your office depending upon the role, right? I mean, if they're doing accounting, then maybe you want them inside your office. If they're doing IT, you might want to have them inside your, I mean, I don't know. If you're hiring agents, then you don't need to hire them inside your office. If you're hiring W-2 brokers, so I have a tendency that if it's in a sales role, or maybe an accounting role, I like to have them inside my office. But but those are W-2 employees. That's the other thing. Are they independent contractors or are they W-2 employees? If they're W-2 employees, it's always nice to have them inside, but I wouldn't require it because you're going to limit yourself to the talent that you're going to be able to recruit, because there are going to be a lot of people that are going to be adverse to commuting and traveling and they want to work from home. The fact is, COVID broke the barrier of the remote work, the friction that employers were having for remote hiring. And yes, there are companies that are trying to bring people back into the office, but they're not very successful at it. I mean, there's still a very distributed workforce out there. And I don't have a problem as long as someone hits their productivity measures, whatever that is. And as long as they're doing their job, I don't have an issue with it at this point. But that's a subjective call on your part. Hope that helps. Okay, Miami Guards. I'm in the process of starting my own freight company. When will it be the best time to hire freight agents? Okay. Well, if you're a freight broker, if you're becoming a freight broker, you got your freight broker authority. The best time, in my opinion, to start hiring freight agents is after you've already built the product and systems necessary to help freight agents become successful. So if they're experienced freight agents, then you have a much higher bar to jump and hurdle, right? You have to make a much better product because they have a lot more options. If it's inexperienced agents and that without a book of business, then that bar is a little lower. But my suggestion to you is go out, get some shippers, move from some freight, build your processes around setting up carriers, build your processes around setting up shippers, start building your credit out from a financial management perspective, build that basic fundamentals, right? Have a website, have some of the basic fundamentals that you need. And if that takes you 3 months or 6 months or 12 months, and then at that point, what you might want to do is go out and consider hiring inexperienced agents. Or maybe at that point, you're ready to hire experienced agents. I don't know. But here's what I can tell you. I didn't hire any agents till after 3 years as a broker. Now, that wasn't a requirement. I just wanted to make sure that I had all the I's dotted, all the T's crossed, and that I had a product and an offering that was valuable enough to the market that I didn't have to beat people over the head to join my team as an agent. So we were already doing $6 million a year in sales. We already had thousands of carriers we had worked with. We already had accounting and credit and those things covered. We already had good technology in place, right? So, if you cover some of those bases, once you cover some of those bases, then I think that it makes sense. Before that, I think you might be jumping the gun. CDN Freight Broker, how to build retirement fund as an agent with roller coaster income or make as a separate video. How to avoid working 20 years and no retirement fund. This is really simple. It's super simple. Okay. Here's how you work it. If you are a freight agent and you get paid every week or every 2 weeks by your broker, okay, you're going to get X amount of money. That can vary from week to week. Okay. Rather than saying I'm going to take X dollars per week, what you have to do is you have to build a discipline to say, I'm going to take X percent. So it might be 5%, it might be 10%, it might be 20% of that commission. And you have to pay yourself first. That goes into a fund for your retirement. Now, I'm not a financial planner, but you can set up, even if you're an agent, you can set up a 401k, you can set up a Roth IRA. There's products out there you can set up very inexpensively, right? Free, as a matter of fact. I mean, you can set up a 401k if you go to Schwab, because it used to be, I was with TD Ameritrade for the longest time, but then it got acquired by Schwab. If you go to Schwab or any of the big online brokerages, they'll let you set up a 401k IRA for free if you're depositing money into it, right? So so they want the deposits, so they'll allow you to set it up. It's easy to manage, but the strategy is to set up and take every time you get paid by your broker to take a percentage out and put it into an account. That's the only way it works, right? I'm going to recommend you a good book. Okay. It's called Profit First. Look it up on Amazon. It's called Profit First by Michael Michalowicz. It's a great book. Matter of fact, I have it right here. This is the book. It's called Profit First by Michael Michalowicz. You will love this book. It's a system on not only can you help save for retirement, but how you can budget all of the important components of your business. Okay. So I think this would be helpful for you. I loved it. I use this exact system for my business now. Okay. Yours will be slightly different for the brokerage, but it can use a lot of the fundamentals in that book. So I hope that helps. I'm scrolling. Give me a minute. Okay, question from Marvin. As an agent, are we going to be working cold calling? How many calls do you think we need to make every day? As a freight agent working under a freight broker, you are tasked with going out and getting your own customers, moving your own loads. That's the reason why you get such a high commission, 50 to 70% of the profit. Okay. So they're not going to give you customers that you're going to move. And if they do, it'll be very rare and you're going to get a very small commission on that. But that's not how you make money as a freight agent. The way you make money as a freight agent is go out and get your own shippers, build your own book of business. Okay. So yes, you are going to be cold calling. You're going to be cold emailing. You're going to be pressing the flesh. You're going to be out there having conversations with people that are in your freight niche that you want to do business with. So as far as the number of calls, that really is up to you. I'm not a big believer in smile and dial 100, 200, 300 calls a day. I'm not a big believer in that. Here's why. I'm a much bigger believer in quality over quantity. Okay. Now there's a balance, meaning you can't make 5 phone calls a day and expect to fill your sales funnel and have a large shipper database, right? A large shipper base. But You don't have to do 200 dials a day. So my suggestion is to focus in on quality over quantity. That's a big part of what I talk about in my Freight Broker Sales Accelerator program, right? Quality over quantity. How can you build a 6-figure business or even a 7-figure business making 30, 40, 50 calls a day by having a different strategy, right? My sales system is geared towards 50 or less calls a day, and you can get customers predictably. If you are just going to take a one size fits all approach to cold calling, and you're going to call up and say, hey, my name's Dennis with XYZ. We got trucks in your area and we'd love to see if we can help you. Well, then you're going to struggle. You're going to have to make hundreds of calls a day because that is a terrible sales pitch. They've heard it a gazillion times and they don't want to hear it again. If you're willing to be different, if you're willing to be unique, if you're willing to have a compelling sales hook and go through the process that it takes to do that, well, then you won't have to make anywhere near that number of calls to make a good first impression and to have second calls, follow-ups, and ultimately clients. So yeah. So if you guys want to get on the wait list, it's sold out now, okay? And you can't enroll now, but eventually I'll open it back up in the next few months. Get on the wait list, okay? You're crazy if you don't get on the wait list. It costs you absolutely nothing to get on the wait list. The program is not free, okay? But yeah, it's an investment on your part, but ultimately, if you get on the wait list, you'll be the first to get notified when I do reopen the Sales Accelerator, which is, again, a 5-week Freight Broker sales coaching program where I work with you and teach you my entire system, okay? And I coach you and help you in implementing it inside your business. Okay, man, that was a lot. I'm out of breath. Let me grab a drink. You guys got a lot of questions today. It's good. And there's a lot of inside banter back and forth between people too, so that's good. Yadin asks, Dennis, as a new agent, how can I build a book of clients? I just answered it. It's called sales. You're going to be doing cold outreach by phone, by email, by LinkedIn, or by face-to-face. Those are the 4 primary channels. Okay? The secret is to be different and not sound like everybody else, but it's going to be work. Okay? Let me see what else I got here. All right. Question from Jonathan. Dennis, I own a brokerage and I'm looking for training that is tailored to the agent only. Is this something you offer? I do not do one-off corporate training engagements. So I have my Freight Broker Bootcamp, which is how to become a freight broker or freight agent combined into a training. And then I have a separate program, which is my Freight Broker Sales Accelerator, which is the sales component. Now, a lot of agents enroll in that. A lot of brokers enroll in that. It's not about starting a brokerage. It's all about how to get shippers, a predictable system to get shippers in any market climate. If the market's up, the market's down, or the market's sideways. This system will allow you to predictably get new shippers. So those are the 2 products that I offer. I don't do one-on-one coaching or consulting any longer. It just got too time consuming, and I wanted to be able to help a bigger audience. So those are the products I have right now. So I hope that helps. Thank you for asking. Let me scroll down here. I'm looking for good questions here. Hold tight. Okay, question from TK. It says, I'm looking for a job. I have experience as a sales agent. I sold over $500,000 in the last 2 years. What do you think about those numbers? Well, if you were a freight agent or a sales agent in the brokerage business, then I think you've got the beginnings of the skills that are necessary to do that. Now, how many clients did that consist of? 500,000. Was it 2 clients or was it 50 clients? I'm not quite sure. But it sounds to me like you have some of the skills necessary to become a successful freight agent or maybe even a freight broker. So yeah, I think you're in a good spot. I think that if you apply to some jobs that are looking for experience, but maybe they don't have a book of business, or I don't know, maybe you can bring those customers with you depending upon your relationship. I think you're in a good spot for a startup. I'm scrolling through. Give me a minute. Question from Jim Han, my old longtime friend. As an agent, can you discuss the pros and cons of hiring employees in your agency versus hiring sub-agents? Good question. Okay, so what Jim is saying, if you are an agent working under a broker, okay, which is what Jim does. Jim's an agent under a broker, right? What he's saying is, should I hire W-2 employees, right, to work as employees under my agency, or should I hire sub-agents, which is an agent of the agent? Okay, so follow me here. So that's his question. I'm going to give you my personal opinion. I am not a huge believer in sub-agents, and here's why. You are an agent. If you want to hire sub-agents, you go out, you hire some people who typically don't have experience, you teach them, you train them, and you invest in them, and you pay them a fair commission. And, maybe you're getting 60% commission and you pay them 50 and you keep 10% for, being the main agent. Okay. But as soon as they build a book of business, what are they going to do, Jim? What are they going to do? You're not going to, if they're smart, they're not going to sign a non-compete with you. And I don't recommend non-competes anyways, as agents, as 1099 agents. So they're going to go out and start their own agency. That's typically how it works. Because once they have a customer base, they've used you to get to the point where they have a customer base, and then they're going to go out to another brokerage and become their own agent, in which all that time and energy you invested is lost. So I'm not a huge believer in sub-agents under an agent. Now, some people have made it work, okay? But that wouldn't be my preference. And I'm not saying it can't work. It's just I don't like the idea of investing 6, 12, 18, 24 months into somebody and helping them go through the ropes, and then they pivot off because now I lose all that revenue that I invested in. Some people don't mind that, but it's not my cup of tea. So what I would prefer, if I were an agent looking to grow, let's say, for example, a $10 million book of business, what I would do is, as the agent, I would be the sales leader. I would go out, I'd be the rainmaker. I would bring in all the clients. I would do all the quoting. I'd do all the sales activity, and I would build a group of operations people around me. Once I got to the point where I couldn't cover the freight, I'd hire an operations person. I'd offload the operations, posting trucks and dispatching drivers and following up on bill of ladings and fuel advances and all that stuff I would give to the operations person. And I would sell into that capacity. Okay. When that person got too busy, I'd hire another one. When that person got too busy, I'd hire another one. By the time I'd get to 5 or 6 different operations people, I'm going to probably be able to manage a book of business, a $5 to $10 million book of business. And I control the sales, I control the clients, and my operations people are getting paid a fair wage for what they're doing, which is the operations side. But because they didn't go out and get the clients and they're operating as W-2 inside employees, well, then that's how it works. But that's how I would do it. If I were an agent looking to build a $10 million book of business, I would build an operations team around me. I would sell into that capacity. I would incentivize them. I would work with them. I would teach them. I would train them. But I would focus on the sales. They would focus on operations. I hope that makes sense, Jim. I think we probably talked about that in my inner circle years ago when you were a part of that program. But it's still my story, and that's what I'm sticking with. All right, we're going to be wrapping up here in a minute. Any final questions, hit me up in the comments. I'll try to get to them. If I don't get to them today, I will try to come back into the comments later and answer. Okay, here's a question from Carlton. If I have a motor carrier authority and seeking to start my freight broker authority, will there be a challenge booking loads for my trucks on motor carrier authority because I have a broker authority? Well, what you're probably going to want to do is you're going to want to separate the broker authority and the carrier authority into 2 different companies, 2 different LLCs. And you may want to change, you might want to have 2 different physical locations for those so that it doesn't cause you any issues with your trucking insurance. Before you start your freight brokerage, I recommend that you reach out to your carrier of your insurance for your asset-based company and make sure that starting a freight brokerage isn't going to be an issue or what the potential is there. And then before you go out and start your freight brokerage. And if it is, then you're definitely going to want to separate that entity into a different LLC and a different location. Okay. Now it can be a similar name. Say you have ABC Trucking, just hypothetically, you can do ABC Trucking and Logistics or ABC Logistics or ABC Warehouse or whatever, right? So you can have a very similar name, but I would do that. Now, to peel the onion back one layer more, you asked, are you going to have a hard time booking loads for your trucks? Well, if it's out of the same location, it's operating under the same MC, you probably will. Okay. There are some brokers that don't like to book loads with carriers who also have their broker authority. But there are also lots of brokers that don't mind as long as they trust you. What they're concerned about is you either double brokering that load or potentially back soliciting their shipper. Those are the things that a broker is typically worried about. So if you can ease their fears and concerns as it relates to that, then you won't have an issue. But there are a lot of asset-based brokerages out there that do a very brisk asset side of the business and a very brisk brokerage side of the business. Okay. So I don't think personally it's an issue, but I think it's subjective, right? But that's what I would suggest. I hope that helps, Carlton. Question from Eric. What's a good paying split for a freight broker agent? Okay, if you are a broker hiring agents, the split that you're typically going to give newer agents that don't have experience or a book of business typically starts around 50% of the gross profit. If you make $200 on the load, they get 50%, which would mean 100 to them and you keep 100. If it's an experienced agent, it might go up to 55 or 60 or 65. I've even seen companies that pay as much as 70. I never paid 70 because I thought it was too much, because there has to be enough profit at the end of the day for me as a broker to provide a valuable product to the agent. So we typically pay experienced agents 60 or 65. Think about it. If you're only keeping 30% of the profit and that broker, say, for example, they're only making 10% profit on their loads, that means me as the agent, I'm making 3% before expenses. So that means on $1 million in business, I keep 30 grand before expenses. Now I've got credit expense, financial management expense, technology expense. I'll be lucky if I put 0.5 or 1% to the bottom line. So for me, the risk of doing that was never worth it. Okay. So you got to remember, when you are deciding on a brokerage as an agent, and when you are an agent deciding on what your program is, you got to understand you have to be able to make money, but you also have to be able to provide a product that's valuable enough that can attract quality people. And as an agent, you want your broker to be financially stable and viable. If they don't make any money, then what's the motivation for them to serve you? So you got to remember it's 2 sides of the coin, and it's a partnership, right? If one is overburdening the other, long term, it's not going to work. So if the broker's taking too much, the agent's going to get pissed and is going to leave. If the agent's taking too much and the broker's not making any money, then they're not going to service and support you. It's a marriage. Okay. So you guys got to get on the same page. All right. So that's my 2 cents. Let's see. One last question. Yaden, yeah, go to Freight. Do you have an agent course and mentor brokers and or agents? I have an online program that over 10,000 students that went through. Go to freightbrokerbootcamp.com. Okay. We offer a 60-day, 100% unconditional money back guarantee. That's for startups. If you're looking to become a startup broker or startup agent, if you need help on the sales side, you need help on getting shippers. Okay. If you need help on that side, getting customers, highly profitable customers, get on the wait list for my Freight Broker Sales Accelerator. We will open that up in the next few months. It just sold out. So we're going to open that up again very soon. But it's sold out now. You can't enroll right now. Even if you threw money at me, you can't get enrolled right now. So get on the wait list. You'll be the first to get notified. That's my 5-week freight broker sales coaching program. So those are the ways you can get started. Appreciate you guys being here. Have an awesome week. If you guys enjoyed this, make sure you hit the like button before you close out and share the stream. Do me a favor. If you're on LinkedIn, repost this. If you're on Facebook, repost this. If you're in YouTube, send a text or an SMS message to 3 buddies you think might benefit from this. Appreciate you guys being here. Have an awesome day. Have an awesome week. And I'll see you next Monday with the next Freight Broker Bootcamp Live.